Hello, welcome. You're watching the Sunday edition of This Is Exclusive with me, Shavan. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation in Nepal is undoubtedly a cause of concern. The reason being is that over the last few years, if things have essentially stabilized, this was after the pro-monarchist voices did not really find a ground for themselves. But it appears that things are really changing right now on the ground. What has led to this sudden change, and what's the impact does it have in India? All this and much more in this edition of This Is Exclusive. But up first, let's take you through the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Three days after mob violence in Nepal's capital of Kathmandu, government detains pro-monarchy protesters, several RPP leaders under house arrest. At least 1,600 people in Myanmar dead after the earthquake. Operation Brahma in full swing as India sends humanitarian aid. U.S. government gives nod to building and designing nuclear reactors. Two private Indian companies get American approval. Eleven coaches of the Kamakya Express derails in Cuttack, leaving one person dead. NDRF teams rushed to the spot.
में इतना बड़ा भूकंप आया है। भारत ऑपरेशन ब्रह्मा के तहत वहां के लोगों की मदद के लिए सबसे पहले पहुंच गया है।
Prime Minister Modi pays tribute to RSS founding fathers in Nagpur, says Operation Brahma like that of the work of Swayam Sevaks. Ladies and gentlemen, in Nepal, the government has intensified its crackdown on the pro-royalist movement, placing key figures including movement leader Nawaraj Subedi, former King Gyanendra Shah, and other prominent supporters under house arrest. Subedi, a chief coordinator of the movement, joins former King Gyanendra Shah, who was placed under house arrest at his Nirmal residence, along with the National Vice President and General Secretary of the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party. The Nepali Congress has accused Gyanendra Shah of instigating violence during protests, calling for him to be held responsible. Now, the party further condemned the unrest as a planned attempt to destabilize the country and announced plans to engage in dialogue with constitutionalist parties. First, take a look at this report.
The Nepalese capital of Kathmandu has been at the forefront of violent protests for the last 3 days. The protest calls for the restoration of the Hindu monarchy and reinstatement of the Hindu state in Nepal. This comes merely days after Nepal welcomed the return of its former king Gyanendra Shah. Such was the intensity of the protests that the Nepalese government was forced to crack down on pro-Hindu members. Nepalese authorities arrested at least 51 individuals, including senior leaders of the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party.
नेपाल में हिंसक प्रदर्शन के बाद जिस तरह से 2 लोगों की मौत हुई, कई घरों को आग के हवाले कर दिया गया, कई गाड़ियों को जला दिया गया। एक बार फिर देखिए, यहाँ पर जवान जो है सड़कों पर उतर चुके हैं हालात को काबू में करने के लिए, क्योंकि प्रदर्शन यहाँ पर लगातार इस समय जोरों पर है। भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ लोग इस समय लगातार आंदोलन कर रहे हैं।
And while the unrest continues, the Nepali Congress has imposed a hefty fine on the former king, accusing him of inciting riots in the wake of his return. The people of Nepal, however, are eyeing New Delhi's help. An SOS call has been made. and they look forward to India's help in restoring normalcy in Kathmandu.
हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे इंडिया के सरकार इसमें पहल करे और यहाँ का नेता जो है भ्रष्ट हो रहा है उस पर यहाँ का नेता लोग जो भाषा बोलते हैं उस भाषा जो है यहाँ पर भुलाने
चाहते हैं कि राजशाही वापस आ जाए।
जी एकदम हम लोग चाहते हैं कि राजशाही आ जाए।
इंडिया के सरकार के हाथ जोड़ के हम विनती करते हैं सबसे नेपाल के सरकार को कोई उपाय दे दे।
As Nepal attempts to gain normalcy, it's a clear fight between the monarchists and the Democrats for the country's political future.
Joining us from Kathmandu is Khushbu Oli. She is a RPP central leader, also the spokesperson for the party. Thank you, Ms. Oli, for joining us on this broadcast. Direct accusations that have been leveled against your party is that you are basically stoking violence, and the fact that King Gyanendra has completely lost ground. No one has essentially forgotten how King Gyanendra was ruling with an iron fist when he had power with him. Today, some argue that he is a spent force in Nepal.
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, I would like to clarify one thing. The recent protest that was organized in Kathmandu only did have the moral support of RPP, and we have our own line of peaceful protests that we have planned for the future. But this protest was done by the Maha Abhiyan, and then RPP had its moral support, and the government-backed repression of this peaceful protest is an unforgivable assault and on the people's fundamental rights. The use of excessive force, including rubber bullets, tear gas, and direct police brutality, has completely exposed the government's desperation to suppress the rising public discontent. And they have been raising this to the king, who has no involvement in all of this protest. It is the direct Nepali people who took to the streets, voicing their frustrations against this failing system. If the protest was backed by the king or it was supported by the king, the results would not have been like this. But this is just a false claim by the government that this whole protest was done or backed by the king is a false claim by the government.
Ms. Oli, if that's the case, what's the main demand that you, your party, and those who are participating in this entire so-called movement are making at this point in time?
Sorry, I could not hear you properly.
Ms. Oli, help us understand the demands that you are making at this point in time. Of course, given the fact that there is rising unemployment in Nepal, inflation rates are...
We are calling for a new agreement that gives faces to all stakeholders, including the king. For example, in 2006, if you remember, when Mayor Maoist joined the mainstream politics in interim parliament, it was formed to accommodate, and Maoists were given 82 seats just without any elections. So it is not politically correct that all political issues should be, settled through elections. So our demand is that we want to reinstate the Hindu monarch and Hindu kingdom. And now we are talking about, the government is talking about taking people's mandate. Just for example, in the run-up to the 2016 constitution, people were asked to provide their feedbacks on the draft of the constitution. And it is evident that more than 80% of respondents stood in favor of Hindu state, but Constituent Assembly buried and dumped it. So it was not a democratic way. So we urge the mainstream political parties to go for a fresh agreement and settle the issues without any compromise. Our main demands is Hindu monarch, Hindu state with a constitutional monarch, and the people to have the rights to elect their direct prime minister, end of the federal system, abolition of the federal system, and establishment of good governance in the country. These are our main agendas that we have been voicing for.
Ms. Oli, it seems that you are indicating that the king has no role to play. Having said that, many would find this hard to believe, given the fact that he's trying to make a return to politics right now. And of course, the constitutional amendment that has been made reversing the constitutional amendment seems to be the underlying factor at this point in time. How do you really look at all these aspects that are largely being spoken about, and how exactly are you really saying that the king has no role to play whatsoever? We'll try and reconnect with Khushbu Oli of the RPP. Now, Khushbu Oli largely indicating that King Gyanendra has no role to play in these protests that are taking place, but this is a direct result of the current situation in Nepal, particularly with the rising inflation in Nepal and the fact that perhaps the parties ruling currently in Nepal have been losing the support. Now, that's the larger understanding. Ms. Oli, thank you very much for once again joining us. The question that I was asking you is that the role that the king essentially has to play, because many, Ms. Oli, if you can just hear my question right now, the question that I was asking you,
protest. The government
Ms. Oli, I'm not very
only
sure if my
used,
audio is going across to you.
Uniformed police, but also deployed non-uniformed forces and vigilantes who have occupied private homes and fired rubber bullets and tear gas from the rooftops, which was the main reason which started this violence. I personally also witnessed this brutality. Some of our cadres were trapped inside buildings due to the operation, and it took an immense effort to rescue them. Even more disturbingly, this government-backed vigilantes disguised as nationalists were deliberately inciting chaos, burning buildings and causing destruction so that it falsely blames the protesters and delegitimize the movement. So this was a calculated strategy to distort the true nationalist movement and royal sentiment. So I would like to share this with the world that and all the human rights organizations globally and our neighbors to see this situation and witness this brutal crackdown by the government against its own people. And from our Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, I strongly condemn this outright attack on the people's right to protest. This government is solely responsible for this violence. Instead of engaging in meaningful dialogue, they have chosen brutality. But this movement will be continued, and we will definitely reinstate all the agendas of Rashtriya Prajatantra Party. Thank you.
Before I let you go, because I need to understand from you the international ramifications that the current protests really have. Some would actually peddle some sort of a conspiracy theory. The backing of India at this point in time, backing of China being on the other hand, and some within the government also indicating that foreign hand plays an important role in destabilizing the situation in Nepal. How do you really look at India's role, or perhaps how do you foresee India's role in the coming few days?
Firstly, I would like to say that it's a false claim that any neighbor, including China, has any role in this movement, because for a long time, the Nepali government or the Nepali leaders have been highly influenced by the foreign countries and authorities or our neighbors. But this is the first time the people have taken their rights in their hands, and people calling on the streets is not backed up by any foreign countries, including China or India, but it is the people that have come down to the streets because we have been tired and frustrated by the continuous ripping of the government and the amount of corruption that has been ongoing in this country. So it is actually the frustration that has been coming out in the public. So I would like to clarify it. It is just the Nepali people trying to take the control of their country, their rights, their sovereignty, and the rights of taking decisions for their own country in their own hands. So we do not want any country to decide on whether Nepal is going to have a Hindu monarch or not, or Nepal is going to have a directly elected prime minister or not. It is for us, for Nepali people, to decide now whether we want a king or not, whether we want to reinstate the Hindu nation or not. We want the sole rights of the decision making for this country within the Nepali people. This is the message that this country wants to give at this point of time, that if the people of the country actually come down for their own country, no foreign elements will affect the whole movement or anything. So we have kept it very personal, and it would be unfair for any neighbors to be blamed in this. We definitely want support on reinstating peace in this country, stability in this country, but we do not want involvement or interference of any country at this point of time. But we do really wish that our neighbors stay with us for stabilizing this country.
Well, thank you very much, Khushbu Oli, representative of the RPP, joining us on this broadcast and putting this into perspective.
Thank you.
Well, a massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake that hit Myanmar on Friday, accompanied by multiple aftershocks, causing widespread destruction and 1,644 deaths. The earthquake left wide cracks on roads, brought down buildings and tremors across neighboring countries, including China, Thailand, Vietnam, as well as some parts of India. Now, there are no reports of damages or injuries in India. The Myanmar earthquake led to at least 10 deaths in Thailand and over 1,600 deaths in Myanmar. Now, India has launched Operation Brahma on Saturday to help the neighboring country in the aftermath of the disaster. Keeping in mind that the military rule in Myanmar has essentially resulted in a situation that not much information has really trickled out of Myanmar, including some reports now coming in from those who have been joining us on this broadcast, is the fact that there is very little information really coming out from Myanmar and preventing the survivors from actually speaking to the media. But here, joining us on this broadcast from Bangkok is Ayan Chattopadhyay. Ayan, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. While the situation appears to be quite grim in Myanmar, things are moving in Bangkok. Why don't you give us a sense of what's really happening on the ground? Has the situation normalized? An emergency was actually declared by the Thai government. What's the latest?
So I have some good news for all of you that things in Bangkok is in really better shape. You can see this road, the Charankrung Road. Yesterday when I was doing the shoot here, it was completely empty. But right now people are coming back to a track, they're coming back to a normal mode. And currently I am in front of this fair, which was empty yesterday. Now you can see the crowd. You can see the crowd are coming back. They're enjoying. And I spoke to a few people. They are no more afraid, no more in terror like how they were yesterday. Things are better normalized. I want to appreciate that the way Thai government has handled the situation. It is really, really praiseworthy. People are not in panic. Government is ensuring that people are calm down. Things are handled in a better way. The government is very much proactive. So we did not find any such of problems after this kind of aftermath. So yeah, this is the situation right now. I'm showing it to you. You can see, okay, people are here outside. People are now, this is a normal picture of Bangkok. This is what and how we see Bangkok. This is how I see Bangkok. You can see the roads. The roads are back to normal, but this very road yesterday was quite empty. Quite empty. So people are coming out, people have been normalized, and I feel that offices are again going to open up from tomorrow. So yeah, all good here. This is a really great relief for all of us. And I really want to appreciate Thai government initiatives. Fabulous, fabulous work.
Well, I am glad to know that things are returning to normalcy. But before I let you go, just a quick query, because a lot of people have been traveling to Thailand and there have been a growing concern about the situation on the ground. What is it that you're hearing from the Thai authorities in terms of the rescue operation that has been carried out? And are there any specific decisions that they are essentially taking, lessons that have perhaps been learned from the earthquake? Anything that you're picking up from the authorities as far as the way forward is concerned?
So currently, what we have come to know from a little bit from the local news and the channels, that things are in the normal mode. You need to understand the place where this building got collapsed in the Chatuchak market. This is in the Bangkok, but not the central Bangkok. This is a bit far away from the central Bangkok. So people who are planning to travel to Bangkok, because this is a high season. This is a high season for Bangkok. People coming for Songkran holidays, summer vacations in India. It's no need to be afraid. Don't need to be afraid. People are coming next week. I have my friends who are coming from Calcutta, from Delhi. Next week, from Wednesday, Thursday, Things are in a better situation. Nothing to be afraid of. Everything is fine. Maybe within 1 or 2 days, everything will be completely normalized. No need to be worried about.
Very much, Ayan, for getting us the latest details. I'm glad that things are returning to normalcy and all steps are being taken to ensure that the rescue operation is completed on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll shift to focus now to the other big development taking place. In fact, this is a significant development where the United States has now approved the construction and design of nuclear reactors by American companies in India, marking a major milestone in the India-US civil nuclear deal after almost 2 decades of discussions. Holtec, which is a US firm, has received approval to build small modular reactors in India with the United States. Companies now permitted to share the SMR designs with India counterparts. Additionally, 3 private Indian companies have actually secured US government approval for collaboration. All the government agencies in India are yet to receive a formal approval. In fact, joining us on This Is Exclusive tonight is Vibhuti Jha, a Republican leader. Mr. Jha, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Undoubtedly, this is a big news, not to forget the kind of triumph that we're really looking at right now. The deal, the Indo-US nuclear deal, resulted in a situation where the UPA government was almost on the brink of collapse. A lot has essentially changed thereafter. What does it essentially mean for the future, not only about the Indo-US relationship, but the fact that this is a big boost for energy cooperation between both the nations?
Thank you very much for having, and I apologize for being in a remarkably Sunday morning outfit of mine, going out for a walk and a couple of other things. Listen, I have been championing the India-US trade relationships in every significant aspect of the 2 countries. Now, we have always been strategic partners and natural allies, but as you already said, that the nuclear deal was almost virtually collapsing. So this is to the credit of Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Donald Trump, who have actually made sincere efforts to enhance the relationship to reality. And as you rightly said, that the United States for the first ever time is allowing to build a nuclear relationship and nuclear facilities in India. See, energy requirement that you talked about is very critical. India doesn't have a climate change problem. India's climate change is related to its energy requirement. And nuclear energy is one of the key elements that India can do very well with good collaborations with French or American enterprises. So I'm personally very delighted that this particular thing has moved forward. The bilateral trade relationships I had already mentioned during Prime Minister's visit here a few weeks ago, that India's relationship with America is about $120 billion, and the number varies from time to time. But what is critical is that India to reach higher in the trade relationship, and I had requested Prime Minister Modi, proposed to him that do whatever it takes to enhance the trade relationship, which is what will make in India and make America great again. A collusive is a partnership that must be nourished, and Mr. Trump is very committed to India in terms of improving the trade relationships. So I'm very glad that by 2030 they want to boost the relationship to $500 billion, and that portends very well for India. But for India, the challenge is the private sector. How will it respond to and the government, how will it respond to the needs of America, and how the collaboration will happen between the needs of India? So I think this is a win-win scenario for both countries, and I think both Prime Minister Modi and President Trump are committed to enhancing that relationship, which benefits America as well, because as America imposes tariffs, a reciprocal tariff that Mr. Trump has talked about, that if you want to have a relationship, it has to be based on reciprocity. So this is what is happening here, and I'm personally very, very happy about that. If the nuclear thing happens, it opens the door for many more collaborations in terms of manufacturing, and India will have to become the manufacturing hub. And if India wants to become a manufacturing hub, at every level of bureaucracy and every level of policy making, India will have to make commensurate changes to embrace a very potentially a very profitable relationship with America. So that's what I feel, that this bodes well. The nuclear thing definitely bodes very well, because the civil deal happened long time ago. We know that. And my beard also was black at that time. But now it is reached a scenario. Sometimes things take time to happen. But I believe this bodes well for India-US relationship. The nuclear tie-up is very critical.
I want to take a quick question before I let you go, because you've already mentioned about the reciprocal tariff, and this has been the talking point in the United States of America. Particularly, President Trump has been arguing that this is good for America. But global experts say that this isolationist kind of an approach, this protectionist approach of President Trump in the long run may not really be beneficial for global trade, because today global trade is interconnected more than ever. And that is the reason why perhaps at some stage the American administration will have to look into this aspect.
You are right. The United States has been a champion for free trade. And what is happening right now in America is this internal constraints. The internal constraint relates to a very simple fact that as the largest market for all products and services, United States has been unfairly dealt with. So the reciprocity in the trade and the tariff has come about that if you want something from me, you got to give something to me. So look at Canada scenario. American eggs and milk were charged a tariff of 225%, which I think many Americans didn't know about it. So it brings about a very serious imbalance. America's, is suffering from, and this is information that everybody knows. America is suffering from a case of financial obesity. And when you try to reduce your obesity, then you have to go into an extreme fat loss program. So President Trump is trying to fix American manufacturing, which is virtually negligible, because other than defense equipments, our made in America was a pride of once upon a time. It's no longer. All the good, normal goods and services are manufactured elsewhere, in Canada, in Mexico, and other places. So he's not talking about a unilateral tariff. He's not talking about isolationism. He's talking about fairness in trade practices. So if a country wants to have American products and services, and if you want to use my market, then give me concession on the tariff. You charge whatever you have to charge, I will charge also accordingly. So it is towards a mutually beneficial part of it. It will definitely affect the global trade, but not in the way whatever those experts are talking about disruption. No, it will bring about certain amount of fairness in tariffs and trades and pricing, which will ultimately be good for the system. So remember one thing, if you are going on a weight loss program, trying to make things back to the normal again, then you have to do certain tough measures.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Shah, for putting this into perspective. All eyes would be on 2nd of April on whether at all the reciprocal tariffs are actually imposed and how exactly would India really navigate from thereafter. That's all that we could pack in the Sunday edition of This is the Exclusive. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time with more exclusive stories.